Hi, my name is Rachel and you're watching the Rachelistic channel. Welcome back to another video, or if it's your first video, then welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the spoon theory. If you're very active in the neurodivergent and disabled communities, then you've probably already heard about the spoon theory or maybe even know a lot about it. But if you've never heard about the spoon theory before, then this video is for you. Of course, if you do know a lot about the spoon theory already, then you are still very welcome to watch this video. Yeah, you might learn something new. You never know. So let's just get right into it. Awesome sauce. So what is the spoon theory and where does it come from? Well, Christine Miserandino first developed the spoon theory when she was in college. I hope I pronounced her name right. I don't know, but hopefully I did. Yeah. So the story goes that she was in a diner with her friend who asked her what it was like living with lupus. So to answer the question, Christine grabbed all of the spoons that she could find and she gave them to her friend. She explained that having lupus was like having those spoons. Each decision, task, or activity she does costs a spoon. She only gets a limited amount of spoons each day, and once she runs out, she can't get any more, at least for that day. She explained that people who are healthy or like people who don't have chronic illnesses have an unlimited amount of spoons. But those with chronic illness like lupus, they get a limited amount. So Christine had her friend count all the spoons that she gave her, and she counted up 12 spoons. She then asked her friend to walk her through her normal day, and at each task, Christine would take away a spoon. As her friend started, she quickly realized the importance of picking and choosing what she could realistically do when she had already lost half of the spoons from just her morning routine. So as she walked Christine through the rest of her day, she was more strategic about what she would do so as not to run out of spoons before the day was over. And from that conversation, the spoon theory was born. So this was just my simple summary of the story, but I highly suggest that you read the story in Christine's own words. You'll get a better picture, a better understanding of the full story if you read it in her own words. I'll have it linked in the description below and also up in the corner in this video. I'll have a link there too, so yeah, you can find it easily and read it in your own words. Yeah, I highly recommend it because it's actually really interesting, and yeah, you'll just kind of get a better picture and understanding of the story that way. So the original story was used to describe what it was like living with a chronic illness, but as the theory has been shared and developed throughout the years, it's also been applied to disabilities, neurodivergence, and mental illness. So for the rest of the video, we're going to talk about how it can be applied to neurodivergence, and more specifically, autism. So how can the spoon theory be applied to autism? So similar to the original version, those who are neurotypical have an unlimited amount of spoons. You can also think of it as that neurotypical people always have a consistent amount of spoons. So they don't have to think too hard about what they can and can't do each day because they will always get the same amount of spoons each day, and they'll always have the same amount of spoons each day. So of course, they may run out of spoons from time to time, but they're always going to get the same amount the next day. They don't have to be as mindful or careful about what they are spending their spoons on each day because, they're going to get more. They're always going to have the same amount the next day. But for those of us who are autistic or neurodivergent in any other way, we get a limited or an inconsistent amount of spoons each day. Some days we have a lot of spoons, and other days we have a low amount of spoons. But either way, those spoons are limited, and we can always run out before the day ends. And it's not so easy to get more spoons in a day. We always have to wait until the next day or even a few days to get more spoons. If you really do want more spoons in a day, like you have run out of your spoons that day, but you want more spoons to do something, or you feel like you need more spoons to do more things, then you can borrow spoons from the future, but that means that you'll have fewer spoons in the future. So yeah, if you run out of spoons today and you borrow spoons from tomorrow, then tomorrow you're going to have less spoons. So conserving your energy or your spoons is really important as an autistic person. So again, like the story, everything we do costs at least one spoon. Fun things cost spoons, boring things cost spoons, essential things cost spoons, and everything costs spoons. And that includes sensory input too. So especially if you have sensitivities to certain things. So for example, if you have a noise sensitivity and you're hearing construction noise outside all day, then that's slowly taking spoons from you as well throughout the day. So yeah, it's really important for us to conserve our spoons when we can and where we can. So the great thing about the spoon theory is that while it's a great tool to help explain and understand the varying energy levels that autistic people have, it's also a great tool for autistic people to learn how to manage those varying energy levels from day to day. The spoon theory can be used as what's called a pacing technique to help avoid things like burnout. So when using it as a pacing technique, it's helpful to think of having a spoon drawer with different categories of spoons rather than just having spoons in general. You might have social spoons, physical spoons, executive function spoons, communication spoons, and so on. Separating them into different categories can help with identifying what you actually have the spoons for, and you can separate them into whatever categories make sense to you. For example, if you have 6 executive functioning spoons but only 2 social spoons, you might reconsider going out with friends in the evening and spend that time meal planning or meal prepping instead. You don't have enough spoons for socializing, and so it might be helpful to keep those on hand for in the future when you might go out and socialize and you need some more social spoons. But you do have the spoons for executive functioning tasks like meal planning, so you might want to spend your spoons on that instead. Something to remember is that for autistic people, our spoon drawers are very inconsistent. So not only are there varying amount of spoons per category, but those amounts change on a daily basis. So just because we can do something one day doesn't mean that we'll be able to do it the next day as well. As I said before, our spoons don't always replenish the next day like a neurotypical person's spoons might. So in my last example, when I said you only have 2 social spoons but 6 executive functioning spoons, say you keep those 2 social spoons and use up maybe 3 of the executive functioning spoons, then the next day you might not get any more executive functioning spoons. So you still only have those 3, but now you have maybe some more social spoons, so maybe 4 social spoons. Too many words. Maybe 4 social spoons and 3 executive functioning spoons. So the amounts of spoons per category, it changes throughout the day based on how you use them the day before or how much you've used them, I guess. So what we'll be able to do from day to day really depends on how many spoons we have in each category, which is why it's helpful to save your spoons where you can. Of course, there are times when we don't have the spoons for something we legitimately need to do or have to do. And in those times, pairing that activity or task with a special interest or something that is calming can help lower the cost of spoons. Also, accommodations can lower the cost of spoons as well. So for example, another example, let's say you're going to an amusement park with friends, which would cost you 3 social spoons and 6 sensory spoons. You can lower the amount of spoons it'll cost you by maybe wearing earplugs or ear defenders and taking breaks in a less crowded area of the amusement park to kind of decompress and not to get too overwhelmed with the amount of people and noise and crowds and all of that. So now with those accommodations, the outing might cost you 2 social spoons and 4 sensory spoons. Finally, it's important to remember that you can borrow spoons from other people too, which is really just asking for help. So if you don't have enough spoons to do a task yourself, you can ask someone else for help, which will mean that you can use fewer spoons because they'll be using their spoons to help you with the task. So that's basically the spoon theory as a pacing technique. So to end the video, I want to talk a bit about how learning about the spoon theory has been helpful to me. So when I first learned about the spoon theory, I was very much so in autistic burnout, which I've talked about a few times already. I had heard people referencing the spoon theory before online and saying things like, I have no spoons, or no spoons left, or calling themselves spoonies or something like that. I can't remember. But I never really knew what it meant or what they were talking about. I was like, I don't know why people are saying I have no spoons. What does that even mean, right? So I decided to learn more about it. I read Christine's story, and I also read some other articles about, talking about the spoon theory from a neurodivergent perspective, and I thought it made a lot of sense. Using the spoon theory as a pacing technique really stuck out to me, and I thought that it might help with recovering from burnout. So I decided to try it. I started thinking about if I had the spoons for different tasks and activities during my day. It was a bit awkward at first because, I had never really thought about if I had the energy or the spoons to do something. But I found that really thinking about it and taking the time to really assess if I had the energy or the spoons to do something, it was really helpful. If I'm going to be honest though, I didn't actually think about it in terms of spoons. I would just think about how much energy I had. I wasn't saying how many spoons do I have today? No, it wasn't like that. It was more just okay, these are the things that I want to do today, but how do I, do I actually want to do them? Do I actually have the energy to do them? Yes or no? So basically, before I tried to do something, let's use taking a shower for an example, I would think to myself, how do I feel about doing this? Or do I have the energy to do it? I would think, how do I feel about doing this? Mostly because I found that when I feel a lot of dread towards doing something, or just it just feels it's gonna be it's really difficult, I just really don't want to do it, or it just makes me feel uneasy, or I'm just feeling tired just thinking about doing that task or something like that. It's just something in me is just pulling me back from doing it. I really it's just not gonna happen. That's how I know that I don't have the energy to do that task. So, but if I think about taking a shower and it's yeah, I don't really have anything, I don't have that feeling of ugh, I really don't want to do this right now, then I know that I have the energy to do it. So that's kind of how I really determine how much energy I have to do certain tasks. And sometimes, we'll continue using taking a shower as an example, but sometimes it's I need to take a shower, but I don't really have the energy to do it. So what I will do, something that really helps me anyways, is playing music, because it helps me kind of get out of my head a little bit, and it just makes it easier to take a shower, to have music, because then I'm focusing more on the music and not all of the steps that it takes that I have to go through when it comes to taking a shower. So yeah, that's me. That's what I do. When I first started thinking about my energy levels, I found that I didn't actually have the energy to do a lot of things, mostly because I was in autistic burnout at the time. And it was kind of discouraging, to be honest, because I was oh, I actually don't have the energy to do anything. that's great. Cool. But after learning more about autistic burnout and the importance of like actual rest, which I talked about in my burnout videos, I started to feel like, I started to feel better because I was actually like resting properly and starting to recover and actually thinking about, okay, what do I have the energy for? And started to feel better because now it's like, okay, I kind of have a better understanding of what I can do or how to at least figure out what I can and can't do in a day. So now that I am kind of in that recovery phase from autistic burnout, I can see that my energy is coming back, but only if I don't push myself. Sometimes I still push myself, but I'm trying not to. I'm trying not to. I do my best to sit and to think and to really like recognize if I have the energy to do different tasks. And if I don't, then I try not to beat myself up about not having the energy to do like a million things in a day. It's always a work in progress, but reminding myself that having varying energy levels is a part of autism, and that it's okay to like not be super productive every single day. It helps me to feel better about myself and like to feel better about not living up to neurotypical standards, basically. Instead, to try to live up to autistic standards, I don't know, to just do what I can realistically do in a day and not what I think that I should do in a day. That's how the spoon theory helped me. I hope that learning more about it and how you can maybe use it as a pacing technique or help you to kind of recognize your different energy levels. Hopefully that is helpful to you too. So that's everything for today's video. It's probably a shorter video than most videos, but that's okay. Sometimes it's nice to have a shorter video. But yeah, if you like this video and you learned something new, then please hit the like button so that it can spread to more people. And if you'd like to share how the spoon theory has helped you, or if you have like another analogy that you use to help you understand your varying energy levels, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. So comment it down below. It'll be really interesting to hear because spoons doesn't always make the most sense, to be honest, but I guess it made sense for the story because she just grabbed all what was around her, which she was in a diner, so spoons, I guess, was the thing. But if you have another like analogy that you use, it would be really interesting to hear about it. So yeah. And so finally, if you like watching my videos, then please subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you know when I post my next video. So as always, stay Rachalistic or whatever your name is istic, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.